The sun had barely risen on the colony planet of Chorus 6 when the tragedy occurred. Emma, a lively 10-year-old girl, was playing near the settlement's edge with her friends. She loved exploring the wild fields, where the lush green grass met the horizon, and the bright red flowers bloomed in patches. Her laughter filled the air as she and the other children chased each other, unaware of the shadow that was about to fall over their peaceful world. It was an ordinary day, or so it seemed. The adults were busy with their usual tasks, trading with nearby colonies, managing supplies, and maintaining communication with Earth. Life was simple on Chorus 6, and the humans who had settled there felt a deep connection to their new home. Though tensions with the Turkans, the dominant alien species in the region, were always simmering, life on the colony remained calm. But that calm was shattered in an instant. A loud explosion rattled the ground. The children froze. Their eyes widened as the sky above them lit up with a strange, fiery glow. Emma's friends screamed and scattered in every direction. Emma turned, her heart racing, and saw it, a Tyrkan warship, massive and imposing, descending from the sky. The Turkans had attacked. No one knew exactly why, but the Turkans had always resented the human colonies spreading across the galaxy. They believed that the humans were encroaching on their territory, and their growing influence made them nervous. The Turkans had made it clear they would not tolerate human expansion. They had warned the humans repeatedly, but for the most part, the Earth government had ignored these threats. They believed that peaceful negotiations could solve any problem. But not this time. The Tyrkan warship hovered above, its dark silhouette blocking out the sun. It released a blast that struck the settlement's energy grid, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Emma's friends were already running, but she had frozen in place, too shocked to move. The explosion sent a shockwave through the area, knocking her to the ground. She tried to crawl to safety, but the ground beneath her shook violently as another blast landed nearby. In the chaos, Emma was trapped. She could hear the cries of her friends, the screams of the adults, and the sound of alarms blaring through the settlement. But none of it seemed real. Her world had become a blur of fire and smoke. Then, through the haze, she saw them. Tyrkan soldiers, disembarking from their ships. Their tall, armored figures marched through the settlement, ruthlessly sweeping through the area. They weren't looking for survivors. They were there to send a message. As they approached, Emma's heart sank. Her eyes met theirs, but she couldn't run. She was too weak, too stunned. She saw the soldiers' eyes scan the area, their movements cold and indifferent, as if the lives of humans meant nothing to them. Before she could react, one of the Tyrkan soldiers raised his weapon. There was a flash of bright light, and Emma's vision went black. Hours later, the news reached Earth. The attack on Chorus 6 was swift and brutal. The human colony was destroyed, reduced to nothing more than rubble and ash. Emma was dead, along with dozens of others. The attack had been unprovoked, a senseless act of violence. The Turkans didn't even offer an explanation. The message they sent was clear. Humans were weak, and they would not be allowed to expand their influence in the galaxy. Back on Earth, the world was reeling. Families, friends, and strangers alike mourned the loss of those who had been killed on Chorus 6. News outlets flooded the airwaves with images of the destroyed colony and stories of the lives lost. Emma's parents, devastated by the loss of their daughter, spoke out. They demanded justice, but their cries were drowned out by the harsh reality of the situation. The Turkans had already claimed victory, and the human government had no answers. Emma's death was the spark that ignited something much bigger. Across Earth, people felt the weight of the loss, the injustice of it all. They had lived peacefully, trusting that their presence in the galaxy was a force for good. But now, the Turkans had made it clear that their peaceful ways were no longer enough. At first, the Earth government hesitated. They wanted to avoid escalating the conflict, to maintain peace at all costs. They had long believed that the best way to deal with the Turkans was through diplomacy and negotiations. But the attacks kept coming, and Emma's death had shaken them to their core. How could they ignore such an atrocity? The people of Earth began to rise up, demanding action. The death of a child was too much to bear. Emma's parents, along with influential leaders, called for a response, a show of force. The idea of peace through diplomacy was shattered. A new voice emerged, one that was not afraid to challenge the Turkans and send them a message. In the following days, the debate in the halls of power raged. Some argued for restraint, while others called for retribution. And amidst the chaos, a decision was made. A message would be sent, not through words, but through action. Humanity would respond, and the galaxy would never forget the name of Emma, the child who had awakened a sleeping giant. The wheels of war began to turn. This was only the beginning. What would follow would be a transformation of humanity's destiny, as Earth prepared to stand tall and show the galaxy that no one, not even the Turkans, could kill a human child and go unpunished. The days of negotiation were over. The response would come, and it would be impossible to ignore. The stage was set for a new era. The moment the news of Emma's death reached Earth, the entire planet seemed to pause. For a brief, surreal moment, everything stopped. Families were in shock. People gathered in small groups, exchanging whispered words of disbelief. The death of a single child on a distant colony world should have felt distant, isolated, like just another tragedy in the far reaches of space. But Emma was not just a child. She was a symbol of innocence lost, a spark that would ignite a fire in the hearts of every human across Earth. In the capital city of New York, the President of Earth sat in a darkened room, staring at the screen in front of her. The images of the destroyed colony on Coruscant flashed repeatedly. In the center of the screen, there was a face. Emma's. The President could not tear her eyes away from the image. The face of a young girl, innocent and full of life, now gone. She couldn't ignore the truth anymore. Earth had to respond. "I can't sit here while this happens," the President muttered, looking around at the advisors seated before her. They had been debating the situation for hours, each offering their opinions. Some suggested diplomacy, some called for restraint, but none of them had answers. None of them had an answer for the dead child. None of them could look at the face on the screen and say, "It's okay to do nothing." Her voice grew stronger as she spoke. "We have always tried to avoid conflict, but this is different. We cannot stand by and watch our people be slaughtered in silence. It is time for us to take action." But the President knew there would be consequences. The Turkans were powerful, and they were not known for mercy. A war with them would not be easy, but humanity had no choice now. They had been attacked, and their people were dead. And if there was one thing humanity had shown throughout history, it was the will to fight for justice, even when the odds were against them. The President stood up, a determined look in her eyes. "We will send a message. Earth will not back down." Across the globe, Emma's death stirred something deep inside humanity. People flooded the streets, their faces filled with anger and sorrow. For the first time, the citizens of Earth united in a single purpose. The war on Coruscant, the senseless violence, was not just an attack on one colony. It was an attack on all of humanity. Social media was alive with the hashtag #RememberEmma, and it spread like wildfire. News outlets reported constantly on the tragedy. Political leaders appeared on television, declaring that they would not let this act of violence go unanswered. Everywhere, people demanded action. This was not just about retaliation. It was about sending a clear message to anyone who thought humanity could be easily broken. Emma's parents, devastated by the loss of their daughter, became the voices of the movement. They spoke not only of their grief, but also of their determination for justice. They called for Earth to do whatever it took to ensure that no other child would face the same fate. "We are not just mourning our daughter," Emma's mother said in a televised interview. "We are standing for every child in every corner of the galaxy who deserves peace. We will not let her death be in vain." And as the cries for justice grew louder, something within Earth's leaders began to shift. In a meeting at the Earth Command Center, a plan began to form, one that would forever change the course of history. Humanity's military leaders met in secret, their faces grim. They knew they had to respond quickly. It was no longer about stopping a single warship or defeating a few scattered Tarkin soldiers. The Turkans had proven their power, but humanity would show them that they, too, were capable of great strength. General Zara Huxley, a decorated veteran and one of Earth's most respected military strategists, stood before a massive holographic map. The image of Cora 6 burned brightly in the center, surrounded by data on the Turkan fleet movements and the remaining colonies. "The Turkans think they can wipe us out without consequences," General Huxley said, her voice cold and precise. "They think we are weak, divided. But they are wrong." She turned to her team. "We will build a weapon, a ship so massive and powerful that the Turkans will never again question our resolve. We will show them that humanity's will is unbreakable. We will make sure they understand that no one, not even the Turkans, can harm our people and get away with it." The room was silent for a moment. Then, one by one, the generals nodded in agreement. They knew what had to be done. The plan was set into motion immediately. The greatest minds and resources on Earth were put to work. They would build the ultimate weapon, a planet-sized warship so large and powerful that it could outmatch any known force in the galaxy. This ship would not only be a symbol of humanity's strength, it would be a response, a declaration that Earth would never again allow anyone to harm its people. The warship would have the technology to wipe out entire fleets in seconds and the firepower to defend against any force that dared challenge it. This was no longer about revenge. It was about survival, about standing tall and showing the galaxy that humanity had a place among the stars, and that anyone who tried to take that away would face the full wrath of Earth. As the construction of the warship began, humanity's collective spirit soared. People who had once lived in peace, believing that the galaxy was a place of cooperation, now understood the harsh reality. They understood that their strength, their unity, was their greatest weapon. Back in the quiet of her home, Emma's mother sat in front of a small, flickering hologram of her daughter's face. Tears welled up in her eyes as she whispered, "We will make them pay, Emma. We will make sure you didn't die in vain." And with that, the first steps toward the most ambitious project in human history began. A new era was about to dawn, and Earth would make sure the galaxy would remember their resolve. The decision had been made. Earth was going to build the most powerful weapon the galaxy had ever seen, a warship so immense and advanced that no enemy would dare challenge humanity again. The project, known as Prometheus, would require every resource, every ounce of technological power, and the full might of humanity's will. The first step was to bring the world together. In the heart of Earth's capital, the government called an emergency assembly. People from all walks of life came together to discuss the project's construction. Leaders, scientists, engineers, and soldiers sat side by side, realizing that this was the moment when humanity's future was being shaped. They had all witnessed the tragic loss of Emma, but now they had a chance to change the course of history. "We cannot afford to waste time," the president declared. "We will need to push the boundaries of what we thought was possible. The Prometheus will be humanity's answer to the Turkans. Every person on this planet will have a role to play. This will be our legacy." The president's words resonated across the globe. People from every corner of Earth rallied to the cause. Citizens volunteered, resources were allocated, and entire industries shifted focus to the warship's construction. Factories that once produced everyday goods were now filled with machines working day and night to build the components of Prometheus. New technologies were developed in record time, and soon, the entire planet was united in a singular goal. The Prometheus would be more than just a warship. It would be a mobile city, a fortress capable of housing thousands of people, with weapons and defense systems unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Every inch of its massive hull would be covered with energy shields, capable of absorbing the most powerful attacks. Its arsenal included everything from state-of-the-art energy cannons to missile silos that could launch barrages of devastating projectiles. The Prometheus would be a floating symbol of Earth's resilience. As construction progressed, the scale of the project began to take shape. The warship was being built in orbit around Earth, where it would have access to the resources of the entire planet. Giant space docks were constructed, and the Prometheus slowly came together, piece by piece. The ship was so large that it could be seen from space, a towering structure of metal and energy that cast a shadow over Earth's surface. It became clear to everyone that this was no ordinary project. It was the beginning of a new era for humanity. The first test runs of the ship's systems were conducted under the watchful eyes of the scientists and engineers who had spent years preparing for this moment. They tested its engines, its energy shields, and its weapons. Every system had to be perfect. A single failure could cost lives, and there was no room for error. The stakes were too high. Captain Marcus Graves, one of Earth's finest military officers, was chosen to lead the crew of the Prometheus. He stood at the command center, overlooking the massive ship as it loomed in space. It felt surreal, like staring at the future itself. "This ship is more than just a weapon," Captain Graves said, his voice firm. "It's a message. We are no longer a small, weak species hiding behind diplomacy. The galaxy will know that humanity will fight to protect its people. We will not let the Turkans or any other force intimidate us." Captain Graves had been part of the early negotiations with the Turkans, and he had witnessed their arrogance firsthand. He knew what they thought of humans: weak, easily manipulated, and unwilling to fight. But now, as he looked at the Prometheus, he knew that everything was about to change. Humanity was no longer a target. They were a force to be reckoned with. As the warship's final touches were applied, the engineers worked on a special feature, the ship's core reactor. This reactor was powered by a unique energy source discovered deep within the asteroid belt. It was capable of generating more power than anything humanity had ever seen. The Prometheus would be able to travel vast distances without stopping, giving it the mobility to strike anywhere in the galaxy. For the first time in history, humanity had the power to stand toe-to-toe with the most dangerous species in the universe, and they would do it not through brute force alone, but with innovation, determination, and a deep sense of unity. The final assembly of Prometheus took months, and as the warship neared completion, something remarkable began to happen. Earth's people, once divided by nations and borders, were now united in a way they had never been before. The creation of Prometheus transcended politics and differences. For the first time in centuries, humanity felt a collective purpose. They had lost a child, but in her death, they had found a strength they didn't know they had. The warship's hull gleamed in the light of Earth's sun as it completed its final test. The crew, handpicked from every corner of the planet, prepared for the first mission. They knew that when the Prometheus finally launched, it would not be a peaceful journey. It would be a statement, a declaration that humanity would not be passive, that they would not wait for justice to come to them. They would make their own justice. As the countdown to launch began, Earth held its breath. People gathered in every corner of the world, staring up at the sky, waiting for the moment when the Prometheus would rise from its dock and sail into space. The launch was more than just the beginning of a military operation. It was the birth of a new era for humanity. "Ready for launch," Captain Graves announced over the comms, his voice steady. The engines roared to life, and the Prometheus slowly lifted off from the station, its massive frame soaring into the stars. The ship was now fully operational, ready to make its mark on the galaxy. The Turkans, and any other species that sought to harm humanity, would soon understand the true power of Earth. As the Prometheus disappeared into the vastness of space, a new chapter in humanity's story began. It was a story of resilience, of strength, and of a message that would echo through the stars. The Prometheus was not just a ship, it was a promise. And that promise was clear: Earth would never back down. The Prometheus was now fully operational, its engines humming with power as it sailed through the vast expanse of space. Captain Marcus Graves stood on the bridge, staring out at the endless stars. His crew was ready. The warship was ready. The message they were about to send was clear. Humanity would no longer be a victim. They had the strength to protect their people, and they would use that strength to make sure no one ever harmed another child like Emma again. For days, the Prometheus traveled toward the Turken-held territories. The ship's massive size made it impossible to miss, yet it remained a symbol of humanity's resolve rather than a threat. Its purpose was not to create chaos, but to show the Turkens that the time for peace was over. Negotiations had failed. Emma's death had sealed the fate of diplomacy. Now, humanity would stand tall, no longer cowering in the shadows of the galaxy. As the warship moved closer to the Tarkin border, tension filled the air. The crew was silent, each person knowing that the first action they took would define everything that followed. The eyes of the galaxy were on them, and they could not afford to fail. "We are entering Tarkin space," said Commander Lena Kor, the ship's second-in-command, her voice steady, but with a hint of anxiety. She turned toward Captain Graves. "What's the plan?" Graves looked at her, his face serious but resolute. "We are not here to destroy, Commander. We are here to send a message. We'll make a show of force, and then we'll leave. The Turkens need to understand that they can't attack us without consequences." The crew nodded in agreement. No one on board wanted war, but all of them knew that it was necessary. The Turkens had drawn first blood, and now humanity would respond. A single child had died, and it was up to them to ensure that no more lives would be lost to senseless violence. As the Prometheus entered deeper into Tarkin space, they received their first warning. A fleet of Turken ships appeared on the horizon, their sharp shapes cutting through the darkness of space. The Turkens were not known for their diplomacy, and it was clear they were preparing for a fight. The warning was loud and clear: leave, or face the consequences. The message was transmitted across every communication channel, but Captain Graves remained calm. He knew this was coming. The Turkens would not back down easily. However, neither would Earth. "Commander, prepare the ship for a defensive stance. I want all weapons on standby," Graves ordered. "We're not here to fight, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." The Turkens, however, had underestimated humanity's resolve. They had assumed that Earth would fold in the face of their power, just as they had with other weaker species in the past. But the Prometheus wasn't like any other ship. It was the culmination of humanity's might, designed to survive and strike back. "Launching energy shields," said Lieutenant Sarah Yang from the weapons station. The energy shields surrounding the Prometheus flickered to life, casting a shimmering glow over the warship. "Weapons online. Ready when you are, Captain." The Tarkin fleet advanced, and Graves could feel the tension building in the air. The moment was coming. He had made a promise to the people of Earth that this would be a turning point, and he was determined to keep it. "Send a message," Graves said. As the last of the Tarkin ships fled, Captain Graves allowed himself a moment of relief. They had sent a message. Earth was not to be trifled with. The battle had been a show of strength, not a war. The Turkens had been given a choice: leave humanity in peace or face the consequences. The Prometheus had not been created to destroy, but to protect. And Earth's message had been clear: no one would ever hurt their people again. As the warship turned away from the battlefield and set course for home, Captain Graves knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had found its strength, and the galaxy would never forget the name of the Prometheus. The first strike had been a success. The Turkens had learned their lesson. But the Prometheus and its crew were ready for whatever came next. After the first strike, the Turkens had retreated. The Prometheus had proven its power, and humanity had made its presence known across the galaxy. Yet, despite the victory, there was still uncertainty. The Turkens were not an easy enemy to defeat, and many wondered if this would truly be enough to stop them. Would they retaliate? Would they seek revenge for the attack? The crew of the Prometheus knew the answer. This battle was just the beginning. Captain Graves stood at the command center, staring out into the blackness of space. The Prometheus was now far from Earth, moving through unknown regions of the galaxy. The victory over the Turkans was important, but it was only one step. The galaxy was vast, and there were many forces out there who might seek to challenge Earth's newfound power. "Captain," Commander Lena Kor said as she walked onto the bridge, her voice calm but serious. "We've received new intelligence. There are rumors of another fleet, even larger than the Turkans. This one might be more dangerous. We don't know who they are, but their ships are already on the move." Graves turned toward her, his eyes narrowing. "Another fleet. Where are they headed?" "We're not sure, but it looks like they're moving toward the core of human colonies. They could be coming for Earth, or they might be targeting one of our outer colonies," Kor explained, handing him a tablet with the data. The captain took the tablet, studying the information. He knew that every choice they made now could have far-reaching consequences. The Prometheus had made the galaxy sit up and take notice, but now they were on a dangerous path. The galaxy was full of powerful species, many of whom might see the Prometheus and its capabilities as a threat to their own power. "We need to find out who they are before they can strike," Graves said, turning toward his crew. "We'll make contact with Earth Command and alert them about this new fleet. We can't afford to wait." Back on Earth, the news of the new fleet spread quickly. Governments and military leaders met in emergency sessions, discussing how to respond to the unknown enemy. Despite their victory, the looming threat of this new fleet cast a shadow over the planet. The people of Earth, once united by the success of the Prometheus, now faced another unknown danger. "We fought the Turkans, but this new fleet is different. We don't know their intentions, their strength, or their numbers," the President of Earth said as she addressed the people. "But one thing is clear: we will not back down. Earth will stand firm. We will protect our colonies, and we will protect our people." The President's words resonated with the citizens of Earth. They had witnessed their planet's strength and resilience. The Prometheus had become a symbol of hope, a beacon of humanity's potential. And now, they would face this new enemy, just as they had faced the Turkans. They would not be intimidated. As the Prometheus moved closer to the unknown fleet, the crew prepared for their next mission. The ship was larger now, fully operational and ready to respond to any threat. The new fleet, though still a mystery, had to be confronted. Graves stood at the front of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he gazed out into space. He knew they had no choice but to face this new enemy head-on. "We'll need to make a first contact," Graves said. "If they are hostile, we need to act quickly. I want the crew ready for anything." Commander Kor nodded, directing the crew to make the necessary preparations. "All systems are functioning at full capacity, Captain. We're ready." Graves took a deep breath. There was a sense of anticipation hanging in the air, but he also felt a strange sense of hope. The Prometheus was more than just a warship. It was proof that humanity could rise to meet any challenge. No matter how powerful or dangerous the enemy, Earth would fight to protect what was theirs. As the Prometheus drew closer to the mysterious fleet, the tension continued to build. The crew could feel the weight of the situation, knowing that the fate of humanity could hang in the balance. "Captain, we've detected their fleet," Lieutenant Sarah Yang called out from the communication station. "They're approaching fast. It looks like they're aware of us." The Prometheus's scanners buzzed with activity as the enemy fleet came into view. The ships were massive, their designs unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They were sleek, with glowing energy signatures that suggested they were not only technologically advanced, but also powered by a completely different kind of energy. Graves studied the fleet, his mind racing. "This is it," he muttered. "This is the moment that will define the future of Earth. We can't afford to be weak now." "Should we fire first?" Commander Kor asked, her voice steady but anxious. "No," Graves replied. "We'll try to communicate first. We're not here to fight unless we have no other choice." The crew worked quickly to send out a message to the approaching fleet. The transmission was clear and direct. We are the people of Earth. We come in peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. As the message reached the unknown fleet, a strange silence filled the air. The ships slowed, their glowing energy signatures flickering as they processed the communication. Was this an enemy who could be reasoned with, or would the galaxy's history of conflict continue? Graves didn't know, but he was ready to find out. For the crew of the Prometheus, this was the moment of truth. They had fought one battle, but now they faced a much greater challenge. It wasn't just a test of their strength, but of their ability to survive, to thrive, and to show that humanity could be more than just a target in the galaxy. As the unknown fleet closed in, Captain Graves stared out at the stars. Earth had been born in struggle, and it had survived through unity. No matter what happened next, the message was clear. Humanity would not be broken. The galaxy was about to learn the true strength of Earth. The unknown fleet loomed before the Prometheus. Their ships, unlike any human designs, glowed with an eerie, soft light. They were massive, so large that their shadows stretched across the void of space, almost like moving mountains. The tension on the bridge of the Prometheus was palpable. The crew stood ready for anything, knowing that the next moments could determine the future of humanity. Captain Graves stood at the command center, his eyes fixed on the enemy ships. The decision to try diplomacy was the right one, but that did not make the situation any less nerve-wracking. The enemy had not attacked yet, but Graves knew it could happen at any moment. The unknown fleet had already proven they were aware of Earth's presence, and their hesitation had been a signal that they were weighing their options. "Captain," Commander Linacor spoke quietly, breaking the silence. "We've sent the message. The fleet has stopped, but they haven't responded yet. They're just watching." Graves nodded, his gaze never leaving the view screen. "Keep the communication channels open. I want to make sure we don't miss anything." The minutes stretched on as the Prometheus held its position in space, waiting. The glow of the enemy ships was mesmerizing, but it also felt threatening. The silence between them was deafening, and every officer on the bridge could feel the weight of it. This was a moment that would be remembered for centuries, one way or another. Suddenly, the calm was broken. A signal beeped on the communication console. It was a reply. "We're receiving a message," Lieutenant Sarah Yang announced. "It's from their flagship." The crew exchanged glances. The moment of truth had arrived. Graves stepped forward, his mind sharp, but his heart pounding. "Put it through." The screen flickered as a figure appeared. It was not a human, but its shape was humanoid, tall, with smooth skin that shimmered in hues of deep blue and silver. Its eyes glowed with an inner light, and it spoke with a voice that was clear and calm, though it carried an unfamiliar tone. "We are the Silurians," the figure said. "We have watched your species from the edge of the galaxy. We are aware of your conflict with the Turkans and your actions to defend your people. You have made your presence known." Captain Graves's mind raced. The Silurians were not a name he had ever heard before. Who were they? What did they want? He stayed composed as he replied, "We are the people of Earth. We do not seek conflict. We only wish to protect our home and our colonies. Why have you come?" The Silurian's gaze seemed to soften, and it tilted its head slightly. "Your message of peace has been heard. But peace in the galaxy is fragile. We have come not to fight you, but to test your resolve. The Turkans are not the only threat in this galaxy. We are observing all species, and your actions will determine whether or not you can coexist with us." The words hung in the air. Test their resolve. Graves frowned. The Silurians were not threatening, but their words were heavy with meaning. He couldn't help but wonder if they were watching to see if humanity would live up to its potential, or if they would fall short. "We understand," Graves replied, "but Earth will not back down. We will protect our people and stand firm in the face of any threat. We do not seek domination, only peace." The Silurian's glowing eyes flickered. "We are not here to make demands, Captain Graves. We will leave this moment in your hands. The future of your species will be shaped by your actions from here on out." The message ended as suddenly as it had begun. The figure on the screen vanished, and the silence on the bridge deepened. The unknown fleet did not move. They had given their warning, and now, for reasons unknown, they were simply waiting. "Are they going to leave?" Commander Kor asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. Graves looked at the ships. They still hovered in place, their lights pulsing softly as if waiting for something. He didn't know what their next move would be, but he understood the stakes. This was a critical moment. Earth had been tested, and now the future of humanity depended on how they responded. "We need to make sure we stay true to our message," Graves said, his voice steady but full of determination. "They've given us a chance. We need to show them that Earth can be a force for peace." Back on Earth, the news of the Silurian encounter spread like wildfire. People anxiously watched their screens, waiting for word from the Prometheus. This new fleet, the Silurians, was a complete mystery, and the uncertainty left the planet on edge. Was this the beginning of a new chapter of peace, or would humanity have to face another war? The President of Earth addressed the people, her voice calm but resolute. "We've made our message clear. Earth stands for peace, but we will defend ourselves if needed. The Silurians have chosen to observe us, and that's an opportunity we cannot waste. We must remain united and strong. This is a chance to prove that humanity belongs in the galaxy, not as a passive species, but as an equal." Across the globe, citizens watched and waited. Some believed that humanity was on the verge of a new era of peace. Others were more skeptical, unsure of what the Silurians wanted. But one thing was clear: Earth's fate was no longer in the hands of the Turkans or any other species. Humanity had shown its strength, and now it had to prove its wisdom. Back aboard the Prometheus, Graves and his crew continued to watch the Silurian fleet. The ships were still motionless, waiting. It was as though they were giving humanity a test of patience, of resolve, and of purpose. "Captain," Lieutenant Yang said, breaking the silence, "the Silurians are not moving. I think they're waiting for us to make the next move." Graves stood up, walking toward the front of the bridge. The tension was thick, but he knew what he had to do. He turned to his crew, his voice steady but filled with conviction. "We show them that Earth can be a force for peace, but also that we will stand strong when we are tested. Prepare to send a message. It's time to let the galaxy know who we are." The future of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was hanging in the balance. The unknown fleet had made their move. Now it was humanity's turn. Would they rise to the challenge? The answer, Graves knew, would be decided by their actions. And Earth would prove to the stars that they were not just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Prometheus stood silent in space, facing the Silurian fleet. Captain Marcus Graves had made his decision. This was a crucial moment for Earth. After their victory against the Turkans, the crew of the Prometheus had proven their strength. Now they needed to show the galaxy something even more important: humanity's resolve to protect peace and build alliances. The Silurians had given them a chance, and Graves was determined not to waste it. He stood on the bridge, looking out at the vast darkness of space, the stars twinkling quietly in the distance. The Silurian ships had not moved since their last message. They were waiting, watching, testing humanity's will. "Captain, the fleet is still in position. They haven't made any aggressive moves," Commander Lena Kor reported, her voice calm but focused. "It seems like they're giving us time." Graves nodded, taking in the situation. He had considered every option, but the best course of action was clear. The Silurians were not enemies. They were observers, and now humanity had the chance to prove that they could coexist with the rest of the galaxy. "Prepare a message," Graves said. "Send a signal from the Prometheus. Let them know that Earth stands for peace and will not attack. But also remind them that we will defend ourselves if necessary." The crew quickly worked to transmit the message, which was broadcast across the vast expanse of space. We are the people of Earth. We come with open hands, seeking peace. We will stand united against any force that threatens our home. But we will never cower. We are ready to defend our colonies, our people, and our way of life. As the message was sent, Graves held his breath. He knew this was more than just a signal to the Silurians. It was a declaration to the galaxy. Earth was no longer a small, isolated planet on the edge of space. It was a rising power, willing to stand alongside the strongest forces in the galaxy, but only if peace was respected. Back on Earth, the message sent by the Prometheus was met with anticipation. News channels broadcasted it across every screen, and the people held their breath. The entire planet had watched the events unfold, from the Turkans to the Silurians. Now, they awaited a response from the galaxy's mysterious visitors. President Elena Hart stood in front of the media, her expression calm but firm. Humanity has always faced challenges. We have fought for our survival, and we have risen above every test. Today, we stand at a crossroads. The Silurians have given us a chance to prove who we are. We will not shy away from that. Earth is strong. We are strong. The people cheered. They were united, proud of what had been achieved and hopeful for the future. The Prometheus had become a symbol of their strength, and Earth's message had been clear: peace or defense. Humanity was ready for whatever came next. On the Prometheus, the crew waited anxiously as the seconds turned into minutes. The Silurians had received their message, but would they respond? Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Silurian flagship sent a reply. It was a simple signal, but one filled with weight and meaning. The screen flickered, and once again, the same figure appeared. Captain Graves, the Silurian leader's voice echoed across the bridge. Your message has been received. Your resolve is noted. You have proven that your species can stand firm in the face of uncertainty. We are not here to bring conflict, but to test the strength of your spirit. You have passed. Graves felt a wave of relief wash over him, but he knew that this was not the end. The Silurians had not come to destroy. They had come to understand. And now, they had learned that humanity was capable of more than just fighting. They were capable of standing for peace, while also showing the strength to protect that peace. The Silurian leader continued, "We will not engage in battle. We have watched you and your people, and we have seen the strength of your spirit. Earth has shown it can coexist with the greater galaxy. We offer you our alliance." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, no one on the Prometheus could speak. It was a moment of triumph, but also of uncertainty. What did this new alliance mean for humanity? What challenges would it bring? "We accept," Graves finally said, his voice steady. "Earth accepts your alliance. We will work together, side by side, for peace and mutual understanding." The Silurian leader nodded, a faint smile appearing on its face. "Then we shall begin. Welcome to the greater galaxy, Captain Graves, and the people of Earth. We look forward to the future." The communication ended, and the silence on the bridge was filled with relief. The crew of the Prometheus had done it. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was not only capable of defending itself, but also of reaching out to others in peace. The Silurians, powerful and mysterious, had seen the strength of humanity's will, and they had chosen to offer an alliance. In the days that followed, the news spread across the galaxy. Earth was no longer just a small, insignificant planet in the far reaches of space. It was now a member of the galactic community, a species capable of standing strong and making its voice heard. The alliance with the Silurians was just the beginning. There were more species out there, more challenges, more opportunities. Back on Earth, the people celebrated. They had faced incredible challenges, and now they had a new hope. The Prometheus had brought them victory, but it had also opened the door to a future filled with endless possibilities. The galaxy was no longer a distant mystery. It was a place they could now reach out to, with the knowledge that Earth could stand shoulder to shoulder with the most powerful civilizations in the stars. Captain Graves stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, looking out into the vastness of space. The journey had just begun, and for the first time, humanity had a place among the stars. It was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning.